Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UNH Admissions Panel, organized by Alumni Relations and the UNH Undergraduate Admissions Office. Thank you for joining us to hear more about the University of New Hampshire and our admissions process. We are so pleased that you and your family are considering UNH. I'm Karina Garnis from Alumni Relations, and I'm pleased to introduce Kim DeRego, the Associate Vice Provost of Enrollment Management and Marketing at UNH. Kim leads the admissions team that serves both UNH campuses. She has more than 15 years of experience in education and enrollment management. Kim holds a Bachelor of Arts in History from Santa Clara University and a master's degree in International Relations from American University. Also joining us to share their perspectives are Christina DiMaselli, class of 1987, and a parent to a UNH freshman, class of 2025, and a current student, Haley Stevens, class of 2022. We'd love to hear from the participants this evening. So if you have questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. There are 2 admissions counselors on the call who will follow up on specific requests for information. And I can read aloud any questions you might have for Kim, Christina, or Haley. I'm sure you're eager to hear from our panelists, so I will turn it over to Kim.
Great, thank you so much. It's really wonderful to be here, and I really want to thank all of you for joining us. I know this is a tough time after probably a long day for a lot of you, so I really do appreciate you taking the time. I have some slides to share, and I'm going to try to whip through them when in just a moment, but not take too much of our time this evening before I turn it over to our other panelists. But I just want to really say that for those of you who are just starting the college search process, we really do hope UNH can be a part of that for you and for your families. The information I'm going to share this evening is really going to be assuming that you know nothing about UNH. Well, maybe assuming you know a little bit, but we were talking just this morning or just earlier today about how a lot has changed at UNH since the time that many of you may have attended. And so if I am telling you things you feel you already know, I apologize, but I recognize that you might have children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews sitting next to you who don't know UNH as well. And also, we do know that some of our alumni have shared this event with their other colleagues and friends. And so I'll really just try to go over everything very broadly. That said, I do have a lot of information to whip through, so this won't be totally comprehensive, and I invite you afterward to reach out to us or to visit our admissions website. And on that site, you can see all of the events, the tours, the open house dates, things that you can do to learn more about UNH. So I am going to go ahead and just share my screen here. If you just give me one moment to do that. Let's see here. Sorry. You would think at this point in this whole thing, we would all be smoother at Zoom, but here we are. Okay, and that's okay. All right, can you all see? Can folks see the screen, the presentation? Thank you, Haley. Great. All right, so the University of New Hampshire, as you all know, there we go, has a very unique location and community and a size that allows for close relationships and limitless opportunities. So we put that in because as I think many of you know, or may not right now, we're at about 12,000 undergraduate students, 15,000 with graduate students. We are a R1 Carnegie rated research university, but we have been able to maintain small class size so that our students really do get the benefits of a much smaller institution while being at a world-renowned research institution. You're all, I think I can count that you're probably familiar with our location. The main campus is in Durham, and that's probably where most of you attended. We also have a what we call our city campus in Manchester, and students can earn the same UNH degree. Sometimes students in New Hampshire choose to commute to our UNH Manchester campus. And just in case any of you have colleagues who are looking at law school, we do have our law school in Concord, New Hampshire. As I mentioned, 12,000 undergraduate students and about 2,600 graduate students. We have seen our graduate population really grow over the last couple of years, and we have been very lucky to have a very stable, slightly increasing, but you know, we really don't want to get our undergraduate community too huge, because we really want to maintain that small, intimate feeling that our undergraduate students are able to enjoy. Within the undergraduate population, we have 63 countries represented from 50 states. So really, it's a very diverse population. As I mentioned, small class sizes are something that we feel is really important. And so we are super proud that we've been able to maintain a 16:1 faculty ratio. Now, that's not to say that some students in their lower level classes, for instance, or introductory classes, might not have one or two classes that are sort of seminar, you know, large lecture halls where they'll have 200 or so students, but those are definitely at UNH the exception and not the rule. We really don't have the scenario where, you know, an entire year or two of a student's undergraduate career would be in large classes. It's just not what we have. 5:1 student to staff and faculty ratio, and 84% of classes have less than 50 students. So really, it's a small and pretty intimate environment. We have 5 colleges on the Durham campus. So the College of Liberal Arts, the College of Life Science and Agriculture, the College of Health and Human Services, College of Engineering and Physical Sciences, and then the Paul College of Business and Economics. And within those programs, we have over 200 degree programs and many different, a huge number of minors that students can take in addition to that. There are additional opportunities at Manchester and, of course, the Thompson School, which many of you may be familiar with, which is now a part of the College of Life Science and Agriculture. And really, there are just so many benefits of attending a comprehensive university. The curriculum that students will take is in 3 parts. The Discovery program, which is what we call essentially what other universities would call a general ed requirement. And the Discovery program, students can explore explore classes in many different areas and have a chance to explore if they want to do a dual major, a minor, something like that. Then there's the elective courses that students have, which is about another third of their program. And then the major courses that students will take, which is about a third of their program. A huge number of students do end up getting a minor or a double major, which really helps them when they're going out into the world and looking for a job, because they have a lot of different skills there. Whoops, wrong way. There are so many opportunities right on campus, but there are also a huge number of co-curricular opportunities. And co-curricular is essentially higher ed speak for stuff besides your major. So the students can do research with faculty, and that's one of the photos here where they can get involved in faculty research that are happening. The students in the center photo are participating in our Semester in the City program, which is in Boston, where they get to spend a semester doing an internship and some coursework in Boston. And then there are many different ways that students can explore subject areas outside of their specific major of interest. As you may know or may not, I did not before I came here, UNH is a land, sea, and space grant institution. We are one of only 43 institutions without a medical school that have this status. And so that really is an important thing. That means that we get a huge number of research dollars, which have led us to getting that Carnegie research distinction. So it really allows us to do a lot. We work closely with many state and federal organizations on grants related to those things. UNH has one of the largest undergraduate research conferences in the country. We have about 2,000 of our students who participate every year, and about 440 faculty mentors. And this really is unique. A lot of students will ask, because we talk a lot about research, what is the point of doing research? Working closely with a faculty member on research in whatever discipline a student is interested in can really help that student to learn deeply in that area, not just broadly, which is something that they will do in class. So doing undergraduate research really sets students up for success in the future. This is just an example of some of the activities that our Career and Professional Services Department provides for students. So we have really expanded this department at UNH in the last couple of years. From an admissions perspective, one of the most common questions we get from families is, how do I know that my child will be able to get a job with this degree? And so by investing in our CAPS department, we have been able to really give students a lot of skills. They do industry panels, they do resume information. We have several different career fairs that come to campus for 10 different unique career fairs, the slide is telling me. I've been to several of them. I wasn't quite sure that 10 was the number, but there it is. And we have a lot of alumni relationships, webinars, things like that. Each college that I mentioned has its own CAPS office. So there will be a career person working with every student from their college. And just, I was in a meeting earlier today with the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts, and she was saying that the amount of access that students get to career counselors has never been higher at UNH. They really get a lot of guidance to go out into their career. So right now that has left us with some really great statistics. And this is actually the advice that I give whenever people in my personal life, cousins or friends, ask me, how should I judge the college that I'm looking at, or that my daughter wants to go to, or son wants to go to? And one of the pieces of advice I give is to check out what is called the First Destination Survey results. This is a survey that most universities participate in. I believe we're actually required to participate in it, that talks about our percentage of students who graduate and have this success. And they define success by either being enrolled in the graduate program that the student was aiming to be enrolled in, or having a job 6 months after graduation. And our success rate at the moment is 92%. And that is just, in the industry, that is absolutely amazing. Something I've been very proud of to work for UNH is that our students really do get jobs when they leave here. These are some of the employers that our students work for, but they, go on. We have over 250 study abroad programs in 40 countries that are available to our students. So while they get a really wonderful experience at UNH, they also have opportunities to travel around the world. And about 21%, this was the before COVID number, about 21% of our students had studied abroad at UNH, which is a really, really impressive number. We want our students to have experiences both inside and outside of New Hampshire. Most of the time, UNH tuition and aid travels with the students, and scholarships are available for study abroad, which is not the case in all universities. And so that's definitely something to look for. Right now, because of COVID, as you can imagine, study abroad is on hold, but hopefully by the time we're talking to your children or grandchildren, whoever's sitting there with you, that will no longer be an issue. So I'm going to pause at the moment and I have been told that my job now is to turn this over to Christina DiMicheli, who I was pretty sure I was going to butcher your last name, Christina, and to talk about her experience. And just to make sure that I really pass it over here, Christina is an alumni of UNH, and so she's going to share a little bit about her experience.
So hi everybody, I'm Christina DiMicheli, and I was 1987. So that definitely dates me a little bit. And my daughter is a freshman this year, so she's class of 2025. And she comes from Pinkerton Academy, which is a large high school here in New Hampshire. And she is now in the Paul College of Business and Economics. She lives on campus, she has a roommate, and she did that roommate through random draw over the summer. So as I was trying to think about what I could say that might be of interest to parents of prospective students, I started thinking about, well, my perspective as an alumni. Of course, my daughter being there, I have a comfort level. I know the campus. I have a confidence in the programming. I have a trust in the school. So from that perspective, I felt comfortable kind of giving her over to the school. From a historical perspective, my daughter is now the 4th generation of strong, independent women to attend UNH. And I certainly see a pattern of how the university supports and encourages the education of women, because they've done so for 75, 80 years personally from my family. And each one along the way has gotten a little bit more strong and a little bit more independent. So watch out for the girl that's coming up here. And then from an admissions process going through that. So my daughter applied to a number of schools. And the admissions process honestly was probably fairly similar for each one of them. And in the end, she was accepted at some, rejected at some, waitlisted at others. But in the end, she had options and she had a decision to make, and UNH was one of those. UNH, however, also offered some additional programming for her to apply to. And she did, and she was accepted. And one of those was the Rutman Fellowship that Kim mentioned. And the Rutman Fellowship is through the Paul College, and they're committed to advancing women's leadership in business and economics. So my daughter's part of 13 students. They're in a 4-year cohort, and they move through together for the 4 years. There's some scholarship money that's included with that, and there's a mentorship. There's a lot that is included with that. The reason I mention this, and I know you're sitting there going, okay, that's a really small thing. What's the chance of my kid getting into it? Well, it's not the only program. There's a lot of programs that your child might be invited to apply to, or that are just available to apply to. So I would encourage you to look at, if your student is really interested in one of the colleges, just start looking through their website and look through their materials, because there's a lot there. And we know, again, I work at a high school, and we know from the high school level that when kids start getting involved in other things and in the community of the school that they're at, they're set up for success. So getting involved in these extra things is awesome. And her experience so far. So she's having the time of her life on every level, right? So academically, she's enjoying her courses. She's already mapping out the next 3.5 years. Socially, she's getting along great with her roommate. She's meeting new people. The extracurricular stuff is great. She's going to the gym. She's doing yoga. She's doing bicycle exercise classes. She's attending the theater club and getting involved there. Again, she's taking advantage of all of these opportunities. And I don't want to make it sound like it's all a bed of roses. The first few days were really hard. And that's when you get that phone call in the middle of the night that says, I don't know if I can do it. And as a parent, as the guardian, you talk them through it a little bit, and then she gets back on her feet. I don't hear from her as much now. I get a text every once in a while. I don't get the big long phone calls. So she's really found her place, and she's really doing well. So, if you have any questions, if there's anything that you'd like to bring up, I'm happy to answer. But the most important person to hear from right now is going to be one of the current students. That's where you really want to hear from, right? So this is going to be Haley Stevens. She's a nursing, women's and gender studies major. She's a class of 22. So she's been through a lot on campus over, the past, 1.5 plus. And I'm sure you want to hear from all the great things that Haley's doing. So Haley, it's all yours.
Thank you, Christina, for that wonderful introduction. Hi, everyone. Like Chris said, my name is Haley, and I am majoring in nursing with a minor in women's and gender studies. I'm just going to give a brief overview of my experience while I've been here at UNH. I am a senior this year, so it's my last year, which is really sad. But I initially chose UNH because of the sense of community that I felt, not only on my tour, but during a high school program that I was doing called Project Search. So I would come on campus during my junior year of high school because I'm from New Hampshire. And every time I was on campus, I just felt like it was so alive. There was always students out and about. People would stop and say hi to me, which is exactly what I was looking for. I was also really intrigued by all of the different opportunities that are really here, both educationally and socially. There's a lot of different clubs you can join, a lot of different programs, just like the one that Chris's daughter is participating in. So my first year here, I did live in a freshman dorm, which was a great experience. I met a lot of different people. I got really close with my roommate. I went to something that we have here called University Day or U Day. So that's when most all of the clubs set up on the T Hall or Thompson Hall lawn. And you can just go around, you can find out more about the clubs, you can sign up to go to the first meetings or be a part of them if you want. And it was during this that I joined the American Red Cross Club, which I have been with for 4 years now, and I'm now the secretary. And then I also joined, I think the year later, the tour guide club that you apply for. And so I give tours here on campus. So that's been a really great experience. And then I joined another organization called Alpha Epsilon Delta, which is a pre-health honor society. So those are the three major things that I'm involved in now. But one of those I joined during, I think, like my second or third. Many great people through that program. The first year up until now, I've really focused on getting to know my professors as well. I've made several great connections with mostly all of my professors, actually. They have office hours, so I'll go to those. I'll talk to them, get to know them, and that's another great way that you can find out about different opportunities. This past summer, I did an internship that I applied for, and it's called the New Hampshire Nursing iServe program. So that was through Dartmouth College and Dartmouth Medical Center in Lebanon, New Hampshire. So I spent 8 weeks up in Lebanon doing research with 2 mentors at the hospital. And these were both nurse practitioners. And we looked at urinary incontinence in young female athletes, and then distress levels in cancer patients receiving curative versus palliative treatment. So this was just more hands-on experience that I was able to get through this internship that I learned about while I was here at UNH. My future goals with UNH include obviously graduating this year. I hope to work in an ICU and then go on to get my doctorate in nurse anesthesia. And something that I'm really grateful for during my time here at UNH is that I've always felt challenged in a really good way. I felt like I've had several opportunities to challenge myself and get hands-on experience, which I think is a really important part of college education that you don't necessarily think about in high school. My hands-on experience personally has been like clinicals, and I even got a job from one of my clinicals junior year. So I now work at a local hospital as an aide on the weekends. But no matter your major, there's so many different hands-on experiences that you can really participate and use to get involved and learn from. UNH has prepared me to achieve my goals by really teaching me the importance of giving back to my community, volunteering. A lot of the clubs are focused around service hours, which is really great. And then it's also really taught me resiliency. And I think some of that goes into the COVID-19 pandemic. As for most people, it's been really tough, really challenging, especially at first when we didn't come back from our spring break. But even through that, UNH, in my personal opinion, has found so many great ways to adapt. They've adapted not only their academics, but their social aspect of this campus as well. So like we would still hold different socials on Zoom and different things like that during the worst of the pandemic. And then last fall, so fall of 2020, we came back in person and things were different, like everywhere in the world right now. But it was really nice to be back and to be with everyone again. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I love UNH. I'm super excited and I feel super prepared. So if you guys think of any questions, I would love to answer them after this. Thank you.
That was awesome, Haley. Thank you so much. And Chris, thank you so much for your comments as well. We're going to take a short pause here to offer everyone a chance to ask questions. to ask questions you might have about UNH before Kim dives a little deeper into the actual admissions process. So if anyone has a question, you can just type it into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And while you guys are thinking up all those great questions, I'm just gonna throw one out there. Now, I'm wondering, in what areas does UNH excel academically?
Is that a question for me, Karina?
I think so, yes.
Okay, wonderful. So it really depends on how you define excel. So we certainly do have some programs that are nationally ranked. We just got an email yesterday about the Paul College business programs receiving, they've moved up 5 or 6 places in the rankings from last year, and they really do have highly ranked programs. Our ocean engineering program in our College of Engineering and Physical Sciences is ranked in the top 5 in the nation. Really, really an excellent program. So we have many programs like that are ranked, super, super highly. And those of you on the who have joined us today, I know very well you can Google and look at those rankings. But I would say that the way that that I define sort of excellent academic programs are just what Haley described as the kind of experiences that students can have. And that's where it gets really tough for me to say, of our 200 programs, these are the areas where we excel academically. What's on the top of my head is the fact that I was at the College of Liberal Arts earlier today talking with them about the programs that they really want to promote for this year. And so they were sharing a lot of different tidbits about their program, and they have a nationally renowned demographer who is the state demographer for the state of New Hampshire, who teaches in the sociology department, for instance. So any students who do the sociology program are going to work with that person and work with many other, interesting faculty that are doing that kind of work. The programs, with several programs that work with sort of an aerospace engineering, aeronautical programs, and they work with NASA. We have, I want to say the number is 23 different UNH design devices that are on NASA space shuttles that are out, and satellites that are out in right now. So that's a lot. Our nursing program is incredibly well known. It is our most competitive program. So if you have friends who are looking at the nursing program, when I get into talking about application criteria, that is our most competitive program for students to go to. But really, I almost feel like that question is a trap, because every one of our programs, and every time I sit down with faculty from a program, I just learn about the amazing things that those students are doing. So, if you're really interested in a particular area, or you don't know what you're specifically interested in, I really encourage you to come to our open house, or reach out to us, and we can put you in touch with those departments or those faculty, or current students in that area, to learn about really in depth about the academic program that you're interested in, because I would say there just are so many different amazing things that students are doing at UNH.
Thank you, Kim. That we are amazing, aren't we?
It's true.
We have a question from one of our participants. They're asking, does UNH offer any pre-veterinary programs?
So yes, that's actually a great question. And we often get asked from students whether we offer the major of pre-med, pre-vet, pre-med, pre-vet, pre-education, pre-dental, pre-optometrist, those sort of things. And what I will say is we have a specific advisor on campus who works with students who want to go into the pre-health fields. And there are several different paths a student can take. And what you'll find as you look at most universities is that those are usually not specific majors. Those are usually what a student will do is major in something like biology or something. There are many different types of majors that would would work with that pre-health advisor on the process of applying to medical school, dental school, veterinary school. We have as I said, a great placement rate of students into those programs. And there is that specific advisor who would help students all along their journey, take the right courses, make sure they meet all the requirements, and then pass the tests that they need to get into those programs.
Excellent, thank you. I think we can go ahead and move on to the second portion of the presentation, where Kim will talk a bit more about admissions. And with that, Kim, do you want to take it away?
I do, I think. Let me try to share my screen again. There we go. Okay. All right. I think I've done it properly. Can you all see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if I can make it progress. There we go. Did it go forward? Great. Okay. So application requirements. I will go through this very quickly because it's not as exciting as talking about programs or majors or student experiences or hearing from Haley or Christina. So we use the common application for first year students, which is what most universities in the country do. So you would want to do the common app. We also require transcript and 2 letters of recommendation. We have an early action deadline, which is November 15th, and our regular deadline is February 1st. Early action at UNH means that you are considered earlier, you get an earlier decision, you are prioritized for things like scholarships and special programs, but it is non-binding. And what that means is that you are not committing, it's not like some schools where if you are accepted, you have to go, you still have a choice. But we do hope that you go. And it is and that's our early action, why you would apply for early action. Transfers can fill out our transfer application, which is an online application that is that's pretty easy, and send us their transcripts. And the deadline for spring admission, so if you're considering transferring starting in the spring of this year, that would be October 15th. For fall is April 1st. We are test optional, so we do not require the SAT. We're actually in a test optional pilot right now. So we, for now, are test optional, but may not remain that way, depending on what our faculty senate decide. We will consider your SAT or ACT test scores if you've taken the test, but they really, they can't harm you, and they really are not required. So up to you whether you want to put those in. I think that's all I have there. Merit scholarships. So financial aid and scholarships is probably the #1 question that we get in admissions, as you can imagine. And so what I will say is the way that it works at UNH is admissions is responsible for awarding the merit scholarships, and financial aid calculates any need-based aid that you would be eligible for. So at the time of admission, you don't need to do anything extra. You will automatically be considered for a merit scholarship. We have over $100 million in grants and scholarships that we award annually, and GPA really is the main criteria. So, what I was just telling my niece who's going into high school this year is that grades equal money, and she really should, the higher that GPA can be, the more merit aid she's going to get from universities. And that is where our merit comes in. We do have a holistic review process. So we look at the other activities that students do, at the other, leadership and sports and things like that. But really our merit scholarships are academic scholarships. So they're based on the program of study and the GPA that the student has received. Our direct costs, in-state students, direct cost is $31,328. Out-of-state students is $49,568, and that is going to include your tuition as well as room and board in those numbers. Financial aid and scholarships, as I said, we give out a lot of financial aid and scholarships, and 88% of our students receive need-based aid and scholarships. So in order to be considered for need-based financial aid. If you haven't heard of the FAFSA yet in your journey, I'm sure you will. It is the free application for federal student aid. It's an online form that you fill out. The FAFSA itself does not grant scholarships. It's interesting. A lot of people say that to us. The FAFSA gave me a scholarship. The FAFSA did not. The FAFSA is a form you fill out, and it sends your information to the government, who then does an analysis and sends back to the universities that you indicate what your estimated family contribution is. And that gives us a sense of a way to, on an even playing field, sort of judge need. And your need-based scholarship will be awarded after we get that figure back from the FAFSA information. I'm happy to answer questions about that, so feel free to think about those. Our first year retention rate is 86%, which is one of the highest I've ever seen particularly at a large flagship institution, but really even amongst small privates, an 86% retention rate, which means students who stay from first year to second year is 86%, which is just terrific. 70% is our 4-year graduation rate. So 70% of our students graduate within 4 years, and 77% graduate within 6 years. So those rates are also something that you can compare with other schools and that we're very proud of. They are important, and as you are looking at other institutions as you go down this journey, definitely check out those, because they really are an indication of how well supported students are when they're on campus. And then the last thing to say is that we have a ton. I mean, one of the silver linings of COVID has been that we have been able to create just a ton of online content for you. So if you go to our admissions website, our admissions YouTube channel, social media, Facebook, Instagram, I think we even now have TikTok, for better or for worse, you can learn about UNH online, and I encourage you to, and as I said, you can also visit us, come to our open house, meet us in person, meet faculty, and we would love to have you.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Kim, for that great overview. If anyone has questions, please do type those into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. I know one question that often comes up is about safety on campus. Would any of the three presenters like to talk about safety?
So I can just say that safety is something we're very, very proud of at UNH. We have been ranked in the top 10 safest college campuses in the country there's an organization that rates this, and we have been rated in the top 10 for several years, which is wonderful, in large part due to our wonderful community as well as our wonderful location. We also are very, very proud of the way that we have managed the COVID pandemic. We have our own labs and our own student workers. We pay them. They're not like on internship. We have our own COVID labs that analyze our COVID testing. We've been able to have COVID testing throughout the pandemic. We've been able to basically stay open. There was time where most students went home last year, but this year we are open and we are at over 100% capacity in our housing residence halls. So students definitely wanted to come back. I will actually ask perhaps Haley to talk a little bit about safety on campus and do you feel safe? Do you walk around at night? What are the sort of things that you have experienced?
Yeah, so I talk about this on tour a lot, but there's a lot of really good safety features in place at UNH. So we have like blue light systems. If you've been to UNH or been to other college campuses, you've probably seen them. So like they're located throughout campus, and they're meant so that you're always supposed to be able to see one no matter where you're standing. And they have a bright blue light, so you just press the button, and then emergency services immediately comes to that location, and their response time is pretty quick. I believe it's between like 1 and 3 minutes. There's also like a lot of street lights, and personally, I've always felt safe on campus. We also have a bus system that you can take depending on like when it's running. They normally run pretty late, and then we have something called like safe rides. So that's like an app that you can use to get a safe ride somewhere if you need to. And a story that I normally tell is like my mom always used to make fun of me because sophomore year I actually decided, so like when you get into like sophomore, junior, senior year, if you're like taking a lab with a certain class, sometimes you have some flexibility on when you want your lab time to be. And I actually chose to have my lab from like 6 to 9 o'clock at night instead of getting up early. And she was like, why would you do that? Now you have to walk in the dark. And I was like, well, I feel safe. Like there's street lights. Like I frequently see like Durham police around. So yeah, I've always felt safe on campus.
And I'll add a couple of things from the parent perspective. When I was going through the orientation, and they have a big, huge orientation, you know, for the kids to go to, but at the same time, the parents were going through orientation. And the chief of police stands up there and tells us all about all the safety things like Haley mentions. And then he says, take out your cell phones, and he gives us all his direct cell phone number. So every parent has a direct line to him. He's super responsive to those types of things, and gives you that comfort level. And the second thing, just real quick, is from my daughter's perspective and listening to her, it's a whole new mindset. It's a lot different than when I was there. The crowd that she goes out with, and that they go, or whoever it is that they're going out, whether they're going to the gym or whatever it is that they're doing, they're very, very conscious of, we're walking you, you're not going alone. And they never let one of their friends go anywhere alone. They're always saying, no, we'll take a couple of us and we'll all go together. So it's a different mindset, maybe like if you're an alumni and were there a while back, it's the kids are coming into it in a different mindset too.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Haley and Kim. Those are all excellent responses. We have another question from a participant. They say, thank you for this excellent session. We love this. Can you talk a bit about a student who may not take the SATs? Does that affect their application, and do you look at them more critically?
No, it does not affect their application, and we do not look at them more critically, especially because, as you can imagine, last year, almost all the SATs were actually canceled. So 70% of our students in this past year did not submit their SATs. So we do not look at them more critically. You know, there's the reason that our faculty decided to approve a pilot of not requiring the SAT is because there just was so much data that GPA and academic record is a much better indicator of students' potential to be successful on campus. And we really don't need SATs as much as I can imagine we did, you know, a long time ago when schools were just so different. But curriculums are much more standardized now. You can really trust that what you're seeing on a student transcript is a representation of that student's achievement. Plus, we read every essay, we read every letter of recommendation. And so we really do get a great sense through those materials what students are going to be successful. So we want to see a strong program of study. We want to see good recommendations and an essay that tells us that this student actually wrote this essay for us and has some passions in his or her life besides you know, what might be on their academic transcript, but we do not penalize a student for not submitting the SAT.
Thank you. Another question from a participant. Are admissions interviews encouraged? How does the timing work for November 15 early applications?
So we do not have a formal interview program, but we do offer opportunities for families to sign up for a chat with an admissions officer if they would like to. We do not take that into account when we are reviewing a file. So for instance, I know at some schools, they would take that into account and say, we're gonna, you know, admit this student because she was so amazing in the interview. And we really, like I said, look at the academic record much more strongly. We of course do note if a student takes the time to engage with us and to talk with us, but we really try to not unfairly disadvantage a student who might be able to carve out time in her day over a student who cannot do that. So it's certainly not going to, I would say that an interview would be lovely. We love, the best part of all of our jobs is talking to our prospective students, but it will not really help or hurt your case to get into the university. The timing, how does it work, is we really just need to receive that application by November 15th. And we need to receive it in full. We understand that your transcripts might take a little bit longer because schools process those as quickly as they can, but sometimes they take a little bit longer. Same with letters of recommendation. We understand that those can come in after that, but I would say the earlier that you get your application into us, the sooner after that November 15th date, which is when we start reading applications, we'll be able to get you a response.
Great. Okay, thank you. Another question from a participant. She's interested in knowing more about transferring to UNH and what that involves. Do you look at high school and college grades? Is the process different?
We do look at both high school and college grades. I would say if a student has done substantial coursework at another institution, we will weigh that more heavily than the high school transcripts. Sometimes students really find themselves academically after high school, and we understand that. So occasionally we will have a student who would not have been admissible based just on their high school transcript, and they went to a different institution, they went to a community college, and they really found themselves and have a great academic college transcript, and we will admit them based on that, even if the high school scores aren't quite as high. And the process is a little bit different. It's actually, I would say the application is a little bit easier. The process can be a little bit longer because the application is more simple and straightforward, and all we really need are those transcripts. But in order to evaluate your transfer credits, we have to go course by course and evaluate it and see where it will fit into your UNH curriculum. So that can take a little bit longer than a first-year file review.
Another question, how can alumni help spread the word about how great UNH is and get kids to apply?
So there actually is a task force. There's a committee that, Karina, I'm not sure if you know exactly how to get connected with this committee. I've had a few meetings with them, but there is a committee of interested alums who come together, who help us with enrollment. They volunteer on panels, they write handwritten note cards to prospective students. This year we're considering, they would like to do an initiative where they write handwritten note cards to parents of prospective students, which who are alums. So basically parents who have children who have applied and the parents are alums, which I think is just a terrific idea. I think the more you can talk about UNH in your general circle and with your friends, colleagues, friends, children, the better. Sometimes we worry that students see us as a backup school when we really are. I mean, UNH is a top tier research institution. We should be the absolute first choice. And I think the students, Haley's nodding, which is good, because I think the students who come here do feel that we are a top tier choice for them. Christina, I don't know if you have ideas on how you have spread the word about UNH.
I work at Pinkerton, and Pinkerton is a pipeline to UNH in some respects. There are a lot of students that go there, but I'm still involved with a lot of my own, alumni that I was involved with there at school. I was a little sister at a fraternity. I was involved with other things as well. So a lot of us keep in touch on social media. So we kind of do it that way, just within each other. And like you said, just within our friend groups, it's easy to talk about.
That's excellent. And I can definitely find out more information on how you guys can spread the word to fellow alums and get the word out in your communities as well. And we'll include that information in the follow-up email that we send after the webinar this evening. So Chris or Haley or Kim, do any of you have any parting words of wisdom or advice for our participants this evening? We're nearing the 8 o'clock hour, and if any of you have any final words of advice.
I would say, and just to jump off of what Kim said, because it resonated, when she said that a lot of kids tend to think of UNH as being kind of that safety school, that second choice. And I will admit that I think my daughter was in that category. And it wasn't until she really started doing some research and looking into what was available there and matching it up against some of the programs of the other schools she was looking at. And that's when she realized that UNH was much more than she originally thought. And she's thrilled now to be there and is finding out that it definitely is her first choice. Even though it may not have been at the beginning of it, it absolutely was when she made that decision and got there. So if you've got that kind of mindset, it might be worthwhile to just kind of really dig in a little bit to the programs that are available. She wants to go travel and do international learning and get involved with all of these things. There's so much there that it's not just I'm applying to school and I'm going to do this major. There's a lot more to it, and the school is very student-centered and really supportive of them, and just explore what's available for your prospective student, or let them go on and do the exploration themselves.
I would say, so the thing that I tell most of my tours is that when I was in high school, I was more shy and reserved. And then when I got to UNH, it really kind of helped open me up. And it taught me that sometimes, or most of the time actually, taking a chance is a really good thing. So whenever I'm like questioning like, should I do that internship? Should I apply? Maybe I won't get in, maybe I will. Or should I go for that job? Or should I join that club? Or should I go to that event? Now I just tell myself, just do it, because you never know the opportunities you're going to get, the people you're going to meet, and the places you're really going to go.
Yeah, that's great. Christina, I had an interesting, I was going to just tell a quick story of something that actually happened to us this year. I don't think this was your daughter, but we had a student who had been admitted to the honors program, really amazing financial aid package, really amazing young woman. And she had written to us at the beginning of the summer and said, I'm going somewhere else, please withdraw my application. And we did. And then I got a call from her father about 2 weeks before school started that said, my daughter has been inadvertently withdrawn. And I called him and I said, sir, we have an email from your daughter telling us to withdraw her. Am I misunderstanding something? And she said, oh yeah, he said the inadvertent part was her mistake. She inadvertently withdrew. She actually meant to do it, but it turned out that what had happened to this young woman is she had been admitted to the honors program, had come to our accepted students day, and then she was taken off the wait list at an Ivy League institution that I will not name, to what she thought was just an amazing opportunity. And so she, of course, took it, and she went to orientation at this institution, and she came home and she said, Dad, their program is so much less than what UNH had shown me when I went to my admitted student day. I want to go to UNH. And of course, Dad was like, what? So we made it happen for this young woman, but I actually think that your story is not uncommon, that students go somewhere else thinking, yes, this will be amazing. And then they really do find that UNH has a lot to offer.
I want to thank each of our incredible panelists this evening. Thank you all for sharing your UNH perspectives and experiences. We truly appreciate your insights. And I'd like to thank everyone who took the time to join us this evening. Thank you for your interest in UNH, and we hope to see you on campus very soon. Visit the UNH Admissions website to find out more about tours and programs. We'll also be sending a follow-up email within the week that will include the link to the recording of this session this evening. And I will also include some information on how to get out there and get involved with other alums who want to spread the word about UNH. Please feel free to share that link with other interested families. And thanks everyone for your time this evening.